Good evening and welcome to another night of miniature painting. Tonight we have two minis on the table. Both are from the board game Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage, which is in the D&D board game series. A while back I painted all the monsters from the game in a single stream. It took about 4 hours, just under 4 hours. And I didn't really properly paint them. I just used a simple dry brush technique. I think sometimes people call it, I don't know if they call that sun drop or if that's sort of a more specific one. However, it's a very easy way to get a lot of paint on your minis, and you know, my point of view, my opinion is that it makes the game so much more enjoyable. Those minis are just basically black primed with a single color highlight, but at least each monster has its own color. So if you have like the 4 veterans, they're gonna all be, I think I painted them yellow or whatever, you can better see what's what on the board. The guy we're looking at here is one of the Warhammer Underworlds minis. This one I did a couple of years ago. As a kind of a test, I just took a single starter set of paints and saw what I could do with a mini, only using that. I used another pencil, but there we go again. A brush in Danish is called pencil, which is why I call it a pencil. I used one brush apart from what was in the starter set. And I think I should actually do something like this again, because it's really fun to be limited in the available colors or paint. So I actually have to play around and But speaking of music, the intro music you heard just before, that was a tune called Secret Muse by one of my good friends, Chilean. Go check him out on SoundCloud. And what we're listening to now is Adrian Versiegler, who also does a lot of really good music. He does a lot of atmospheric, instrumental music, good for reading, writing, role-playing, painting minis, obviously. You can find him on YouTube as Adrian Versiegler. You can find him on Bandcamp as well. So please support him, buy his music, support his Patreon. You know the usual things. You'll find all the information in his YouTube or Bandcamp pages. Now, let's get on with some painting. Let's get the camera to focus. Maybe that. No, so we have these two minis here. The one over here with a guitar for some reason. That's a Cleric of the Grave. And the Paladin here is a Vengeance Paladin. So I'm thinking, since it's Vengeance Paladin, we give him some kind of, I'm thinking red cloak. You can also see that I've actually been playing with these minis. I think I was a little bit too generous when I primed them, and then I've been playing with them without giving them varnish, so they're a little banged up. However, I don't really care. So what are we gonna do? Go for the full-on red. I also haven't really decided yet on what I want to do with shading the minis. I mean, it's tempting to just go the dip method that I've used a couple of times, where just dip the mini in a large... Oh, look, I have more lights. There you go, now we can maybe also see my face. Where was I? Oh yeah, the dipping method, which is super fast and easy to do. But at the same time, it's also, it gives a certain dirty look. I think for the Grave Cleric, that might make sense, but even, you know, for Vengeance Paladin, I don't know. I'm also thinking that it might be a good idea to just cover up some of the worst mistakes first, you know, on the cloak. The question is, what did I prime them with? This doesn't look like a proper white. So I think this was actually a... yeah, this looks a little more like it. I think it was one of the Wraithbone from Citadel colors. Yeah. Clearly it was. So. Let's get some of that over on the wet palette. Yeah, this is going to be sort of a quick touch up to, especially because I want to do a red cloak, and you really don't want to do a red cloak over something that has, what's it called, holes in the primer. It's difficult enough to get the red color to properly cover the mini, but if you actually have, like here, actual cracks in the, what's it called? What am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say if you don't have a properly covering primer, then the reds are going to be even more difficult to get to cover it. But yeah, fortunately it's only small cracks, and Wraithbone, as I find with so many other Citadel colors, they actually cover really well when you're using the one here is called the base, it says on the pot. Use that line of paints. I often find that it's usually really good. So anyway, if we have anyone with us tonight, do not be afraid to say hi. It's always fun when people are engaged and watching. It's also fun. I have another paint handle. So I think for the Grave Cleric, I'm gonna go for essentially a bunch of sort of gray and brownish colors, you know, making it him, her, looks like a him. Making it sort of sinister to look at. Brave clerics are can be a little nasty. There's also a bunch of chainmail here. It's kind of weird to see sort of the cracks where the arm meets the body. These are not minis I assembled, they came pre-assembled, so and the head as well. Oh, now I'm actually tempted to plop in a little bit of putty. Never mind, it's for a for a board game. I'm just gonna go easy on them. Also gonna use for the armor, the chainmail. You can use the classic method just quickly. It's actually scale mail. This is actually very thin down paint I have on the wet palette because it's been sitting for several days. So let's not use that. Let's use some new paint. I also think I'm actually running out of thinner medium. Didn't expect that to happen. Well, I did eventually. It's just usually it's so rare that I actually, you know, empty out a full paint pot or anything like that, because I literally only use like one drop on the wet palette, and I don't even use all of that when I'm painting the minis. It's been a long time since I've painted regular armies. That'll use up a lot of paint, but I'm just painting, you know, a couple of minis per week. Paints last forever. But I mean, it makes sense for the thinner mediums because I use them with all the colors, so it makes sense that that one runs out. So in other news, Denmark has had a very nice cover of snow today. You know, not enough to cause any sort of real problems traffic-wise, just enough to make it look really pretty outside. I have no idea if we'll actually get a white Christmas, but at least we got a little bit of white during December, which is nice. I have to say that I do find it kind of interesting and amusing in a good way that they chose for the cleric in this board game to actually run around with a guitar on their back. I've not yet seen anything in the game. I haven't played it much, to be honest, but I have played a little, and I've not seen anything in the game that actually references the guitar or uses the guitar. So I don't know if it comes on the higher levels, but yeah. Anyway, regarding the game, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, the best way I think I can describe it is simply to say that it is a simple dungeon crawler. It uses a very light 4th edition D&D inspired rule set. I mean, it's printed by, with license, so it's fully official and anything. So I mean, we can't talk about actual D&D stuff here. It's not rip-off or anything like that. But it uses, I think, the combat system from 4th edition, which I never really tried much. So, and that really works well in the board game setting. And when I say dungeon crawler, it literally is just that. You run around in the dungeon, you have some kind of mission like finding a certain number of opponents or whatever. Once you're done with that, the mission is over. There are differences later on, I'll not go into them. Get the game and play it for yourself. But it does it, I think it does it really, really well. It doesn't try to be more than a dungeon crawler. It gives you the barest glimpse of a storyline behind it, but nothing more. I mean, it's not like it's trying to give you like page after page of background for the characters and stories about what happens. It really just is, okay, so you're in this dungeon, kill these 3 people. You're in this dungeon, go find that thing or whatever. So it's a good game. There's quite a lot of missions, so I think it's good value for money as well. You get a bunch of minis. I can't remember the retail price. I can't remember what I paid for it. If I should say something about it, it would be a note on the quality of the minis. They're not the best I've seen. As I said, there's gaps between in the connections, like between the arm and the body, and the head isn't really sitting straight on this dude here. But hey, I mean, it's a grave cleric. I wouldn't really expect his head to be screwed on tightly anyway. But still, from a miniature perspective, they're not the prettiest. I also apologize for the cough. It's just lingering from a cold I had a couple of weeks ago. And yes, it triggers when I actually talk, so I should probably just shut up and paint quietly, but you know me, I cannot do that. All my paints thin down like crazy today on the wet palette. I mean, that's what the wet palette is for, I guess. But at the same time, this is kind of getting a little difficult to actually get it to cover. The legs, I'm thinking armored boots, armored. It actually look like pants. I can't get away with just calling it armor. But the boots I can't make metal. This is super crazy with the The paint here, the way they thin way too much today. I know that usually, you know, it's better to have thin paint and do several thin layers. However, when it also sort of combines with, I don't know if it's the water or whatever, so the surface tension doesn't break, and it actually kind of withdraws into small sort of puddles instead of actually covering the mini. That always gets super annoying. There we go. Now I think for a lot of the stuff around the neck, I'm just gonna take the easy choice and just give it a single color. A few simple colors. There was some bright blue. I'm actually just gonna leave. I'm not gonna leave the cat hair on the model. I'm gonna leave the face sort of white because again, I'm thinking grave cleric, probably pretty pale faced dude. And there's a little bit of warmth in the Wraithbone from Citadel. It's sort of an off-white that's tinted a little bit towards the warm colors, but it's still white and pale. Then I am actually just gonna go give him a dip. Yeah, the reason I started picking up these models again is that we actually played this over the weekend. Sometimes my role-playing group, we meet up either when we're not enough players to really play, or if we just feel like it, we take like a Saturday or whatever and play various board games. We played a lot of Jaws of the Lion, which is the sort of small version of Gloomhaven. And last time, because one of the ones we were playing that campaign with, he wasn't there, so we just decided to try to go for Dungeon of the Mad Mage. So now I've actually played the first 2 missions, I think, with 3 different groups. But it's fine. And that's kind of why I think it works well as a dungeon crawler. Those runs have been quite different in terms of how they turned out. You know, what kind of monsters did we run into? How did the dungeon evolve? Things like that. So I think the replayability is actually quite high in the game. I've also been playing with different characters, which means different abilities, different tactics, stuff like that, which is always fun to try out. See how you can do these things. So there's a lot of there's a lot of details in this model down here, but I also think that I was either too generous with the primer when I painted him, or maybe it's just because it's a WizKid games and their models are not always sort of the super crisp quality, so it's a little difficult to make out what all the details actually are. I'm basically just gonna slap on some colors here and there where it looks right, starting with the blue and then working just a couple of grays and some green as well, just to give a little bit of variation. Again, the main purpose here is to make it stand out when it's on the table. Ooh, nice. He's got a bottle in his belt. I don't know if that is a healing potion or a bottle of wine. The Cleric could be also wine. I assume other what's called religions than Christianity have come up with the concept of drinking alcohol during services. We have a small key as well. I mean, I think whoever did this model did a really good job of adding so many wonderful details. I think it's just the general production process that doesn't really do the design credit. I'm just gonna take the easy way out. Make his pants blue as well. Let's get it over with. And since no one actually appears to be watching at all, I may as well put on my headphones and listen to some music. I usually don't do that because it kind of sort of take me away from the rest of the world and make me about things, make my voice sound funny in my head. But I mean, if there's no one to talk to, I may as well enjoy the music. So this here is kind of another of these cheating techniques where to get this miniature painted and ready, and since I don't want to fiddle around with all the small details, I basically just take anything in the belt area, pouches, maybe not the key, I might actually do something about that, but otherwise all of that, just give it the same brown color. Then when it gets shaded, it's just gonna give enough sort of color variation to at least look kind of okay. And always just actually paint the key brown here as well, and just paint it in, flub it in with a little silver at the end. This is not how you get good looking models, but this is how you get models to the table at a decent pace. I'm gonna do in a slightly different shade of brown and do some detailing on that at the end, because this is gonna be really visible. I mean, the belt is gonna give sort of the overall look and feel of the model, but what's gonna really stand out is the guitar on the back and the weapon, the shiny bits of armor, and the main parts of the clothes. So those are the ones we can get away with, you know. Well, not the ones that stand out. We can't get away with making those too simple, but the belt we can get away with. To be honest, I can't even see what half of these things are. Looks like some kind of pouch, but at the same time also looks like a bit of armor. And yeah, his hand is very much in the way here, his arm. So weird today. I tried now 2 different black paints. It almost feels like I'm painting with null oil. They just immediately thin down, so weird, and I've shook them, put them on the vortex shaker, of course, and all those things. But even kind of like straight out of the bottle. Let's go all in, just do another test. Fully straight out of the bottle, normal Vallejo game color paint. Give it a good shake, good stir, just to get everything shook up. Let's not even put it on the wet palette, just put it over there. Just a piece of paper. Dry palette, really. I mean, it does slightly better like that, but not a lot. I have no idea why that happens. If it's, maybe it's just the, I don't know. Seems wrong to say that it's the model, because why would it be? Maybe it's something to do with the primer, or maybe the plastic underneath. That if it's different from either the, the resin minis that I am used to painting, or a different kind of plastic from different producers. I have no idea. But it just seems like the surface tension wouldn't really break on some of it, so it just kind of pulled together and kind of pooled. Which I've seen on other models with stuff like the contrast paints. Now with just sort of regulated. I mean, this is just Vallejo's game color, black straight from the bottle. Which is basically what you shouldn't do, because you should thin your paints. But I mean, this is... ah well, whatever. It's not my favorite mini, who cares? Just need to get it painted. I think that's kind of the ambition for now with these ones. We need to find color for his hair. Like it to be something, yeah, I don't know, just a little vibrant, I was gonna say. Hopefully giving a little bit of contrast, so maybe orange? Or maybe just red. considering how annoying it is to actually paint this. It really feels like it's the primer that doesn't take the paint very well. So I'm seriously considering repriming the other model. I don't want to strip it down, it's way too time consuming. But maybe if it gets a different layer of paint, might actually be somewhat easier to paint that one. I mean, it's too late to do it on this one, don't want to repaint all of it. I just got the idea. At least that would be worth trying. There's definitely some surface tension issues here. Just try thinning down the red. Way too much to see, well, not way too much actually, sort of the consistency that people, cleverer people than I, they say you should use the consistency of milk, but whenever I try that, it never works. So I mean, naturally at some point the paint will, if it gets too watery, it will pool up. But this really seems like it's the surface that doesn't really bind to the surface here. So guessing it's something with the primer. That we'll have to do. While no one's watching, we can check if my commands have started working again. If I fixed that. There we go. So that part works. How wonderful. So, dry brush time. Yeah, I mean, everything also gets this super shiny finish to it. I really think comes from something with the primer. Whatever. Guess I messed up on that one somehow. Which is odd because I know I've used that primer for other projects without this kind of thing happening. Yeah. This will end up looking like something I could have painted back in 7th grade before I started painting minis or anything like that. Now, this is not to say that I in any way look down on people for their painting skills, or myself for that matter. It's just knowing that I can actually paint better than this, and then for some reason that I can't really figure out, it just doesn't work today. That's frustrating. But I mean, sometimes it's just like this, you just have an off day, and that is perfectly fine. It's just how it is. Yeah, I think that'll do it. So before we actually do the dip on this one, we are gonna do is we're just gonna quickly reprime this guy here. Let's just do white. Okay. Paintbrush into action. I normally don't use the airbrush, sorry, on stream because the compressor actually makes a fair bit of noise. However, no viewers to speak of. You're just gonna have to live with this. Then I might also actually do his cloak with the airbrush just to give it a better color. Sir, I don't know if you can actually. I think the microphone actually filters it out. Or maybe the software system. Maybe you can only hear it when I'm actually talking at the same time. Kind of actually looks better already. Most sounds may sound weird. There's something about how the light reflects. I mean, some of the paint I'm just putting on with the airbrush is still wet. It does seem to be, you know, as it dries out, kind of reflects just, you know, just a little bit less. So maybe it has slightly more, I don't know, I would say porous, but I don't know if that's the right word for it. Maybe it's a little better at catching the paint, whatever. If the paint adheres, sticks to it better. I hope it does. Need to run a little bit of water through the airbrush. I give it a proper clean after the stream. A while back, I actually cleaned my airbrush, decided to take out the nozzle and clean it properly, and I found out there was so much gunk inside the nozzle. And I'm really curious about how it had ever actually been able to, get any kind of paint out of it. And I could see it so clearly once I actually had everything cleaned up, because the needle could go out a full, I don't know, 3 or 4 millimeters extra, which is long for the tip of an airbrush needle. Right. So let's leave that one to dry. Do a dip on the Cleric. I mean, he does not look good. Even take into account that it's going to be some. Why are you not? Folks, there we go. So, I mean, it's very, very simple. It's going to be a little bit of shadow on it in a bit. I am looking for this. This up here so you can actually see it again. Nah. Gonna do it the normal way. I was considering not dipping it fully, because there's actually some writing at the bottom of it which says what character it is and stuff like that, but I don't really care. I mean, most of it is gonna come clean off once it actually settles down and dries. Oh, this really is a trust the process kind of moment here. You can't even see what I'm doing because I am terrible at this. So let's put the lid on here. This is where I kind of remembered that I actually wanted to try and just brush this on at some point, just to see how it goes. I think I've done it a couple of years ago, but I can't remember the results. And don't worry about the base, because I'm gonna do some dirt or whatever on it anyway. Look at the places where it pools the most and just clean a lot of that up. I think I definitely need to do a test with just brushing this on. With this one here, especially in the blue parts, so clear that it's over soaked. Even kind for doing the matte varnish later on, that brings out the colors again. This kind of looks a little over the top. So I guess that will have to do. But still, this is essentially a mini painted in... Let's get the front here. This is more or less a mini painted in an hour and a half on stream. I know there's gonna be a couple of minutes worth of work getting it finalized, doing the base. I mean, that's with the base, it's probably 20 minutes total. Brushing on the matte varnish and stuff. But even so, I still think that's pretty decent. I mean, I know I'm not a fast painter by any stretch of the imagination. It's pulling way too much, isn't it? Maybe it isn't. Yeah, it is. It's very decisive of me. Contradicting myself in the same sentence even. But hey. Now for the other guy here, let's... Do we actually want to do a red on the... Yeah, we're going to do red on the coat. We're going to do it with the airbrush because it's faster and easier. I think it needs to... Nah, I actually think the primer needs to set a little bit more, so I'm gonna have to do that some other day. Instead, I will cut the stream short and say thank you for watching. It has been absolutely not fun because Paint didn't want to do what I wanted to do. But anyway, we'll try this again next week, the same time, 7 o'clock CET. Until then, I hope you have an absolutely wonderful evening. Take care and Ain't safe.